Hello, big news this week. The University of North Dakota is joining the Summit League starting in the fall of 2018. North Dakota is currently a member of the Big Sky Conference and will be for one more season before making the move to the Summit next fall. Summit League Commissioner Tom Duple was in Grand Forks for a press conference on Thursday afternoon to make the announcement and discuss the impact on scheduling and postseason play and all the other issues that will come with this edition. We will have a full interview with the commissioner next week here on the show. Again, the University of North Dakota set to join the Summit League in 2018. And now on to this week's edition of Inside the Summit League. Welcome to Inside the Summit League. Got some good stories coming up. Joined by Brad Newitt for the week that was in Summit League basketball, Brad. And starting with the men, two teams won 2 games last week. One of them was Oral Roberts.
Oral Roberts played very well on their home floor, scoring the basketball at a very great rate in those 2 wins.
They beat South Dakota 90-80 in this one. Matt Mooney had 24 for South Dakota, but the Coyotes had some troubles at the free throw line. And meanwhile, Albert Owens, 21 points in this one. That's 20-plus points in 5 straight games for him.
And his presence inside is also opening up perimeter scoring for Oral Roberts. They had 6 different players in this game, Tom, that made a three-pointer. But the free throw line, the story of the game, because South Dakota really struggled there. Both these teams shot 30 free throws. USD only makes 17. Oral Roberts makes 24. That's what gives them the win.
ORU by 10 over South Dakota there. Thursday game, North Dakota State at home. They were the other team last week that won 2 games. The Bison beat Fort Wayne in Fargo 89-83.
Great shooting performance by North Dakota State. They hit 13 of 22 from deep, almost 60%, but it took 2 career highs for NDSU to win this game from Paul Miller and Kai Cabellis, both with career highs in this one.
Cabellis with 25, Paul Miller with 33. Miller 7 of 10 on the three-point shot, and North Dakota State was just excellent offensively. 54% field goals, 59% on three-pointers, and then 22 of 27 at the free throw line. That's how they get it done.
They have been playing very well offensively and having some decent defense to go along with it to get them enough to get wins.
All right, Saturday, Denver at IUPUI. Road win for the Pioneers. It was a 15-point turnaround in the second half. Denver came from behind, and they win at 78-74.
Well, they did a great job rebounding the basketball in this game. They were over 12 rebound advantage. That's what helped them in this one. For IUPUI, they've really just gone the way Darrell Combs has gone. And when he has struggled, they have struggled. And he did in this game only 2 of 13 from the field. 9 points for Combs in this one. Joe Rosga led Denver with 19 as Denver gets the win there. And then North Dakota State on the road at Western Illinois, 89-57 win for the Bison in this one. They were up by as many as 33, and they shot 81% at the three-point line. Crazy. Some of the three-point percentages right now on the men's side in the Summit League are off the charts, and this was incredible. What North Dakota State did this whole week from the three-point line, very outstanding. And A.J. Jacobson gets on track for them in this game. He has really been struggling shooting the basketball of late, but he had 23, hit 6 threes himself.
Paul Miller comes along with 19 for the Bison. He is the player of the week after 2 big games for Paul Miller. And then Oral Roberts, again, we mentioned they won 2 games. They win at home against Omaha, 103-86. And again, Albert Owens had 28 in this one, 6 straight games where he's had at least 20 points.
And again, just very dominant inside in the paint. Owens, they're playing through him offensively more and more and getting to the foul line too. Oral Roberts, 26 free throws made in this game. 26 out of 29 at the line. And Tradeon Hollins had a great game in a loss for Omaha. 33 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists for Hollins. He still leads the Summit League at 6.5 assists per game. And then South Dakota State on Saturday at home against Fort Wayne. And Fort Wayne led by 5 in the second half. And then Mike Dahm scored 19 points in a row by himself for South Dakota State. And almost all of them from the three-point line. Dahm pours in 10 three-pointers made. That's a school record on his way to 42 points.
A.J. Hess goes along with 18 as the Jackrabbits hit 17 threes in this game, and a big win for South Dakota State. It's the 3rd straight loss for Fort Wayne, by the way, as they go to 3-4 after that. And here's a look at the schedule for this Saturday. And coming into this week, there were 7 teams, the 2nd through the 7th place teams all had either 4 or 3 wins going into this week. Nobody really separating except for North Dakota State.
Yeah, North Dakota State, this was a big week for them, getting 2 wins and getting some separation. But yeah, you look at the rest of the pack, and it's very compacted there.
All right, women's basketball coming up next. IUPUI is on a 3-game run, and South Dakota State halfway through the league's schedule with just 1 loss so far.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn.
Welcome back. Now to women's basketball, and South Dakota State, Brad, has steadied the ship. Now the Jackrabbits have won 6 games in a row.
And they're doing it with defense, holding teams down below 60 points a game. That's been their recipe for success.
SDSU at Denver. This was a huge game for Madison Giebert, sophomore for South Dakota State, at 32 points. She is the Summer League Player of the Week.
And South Dakota State got it going offensively in this game, shot over 50%, holds Denver to 37% shooting, doing it on both ends in this one.
Elsewhere, IUPUI, talking about defense, at home against Oral Roberts, 53-41. IUPUI 1 of 11 on field goals in the 4th quarter, but they still win.
They still win because they are holding teams down as well. Holding teams under 60, also a recipe of success for IUPUI, and they've gotten back on the winning track this week.
Danielle Lawrence, great week for IUPUI. She had 29 in this one. On Saturday, Oral Roberts turns around. After that loss at home, they go on the road and beat Fort Wayne 75-59. Maria Martianez with 20 and Kaylin Mayberry with 17 in the win for ORU. South Dakota State at home against Western Illinois, and Western came into this game 5-1 in the league, but did not shoot the ball well at all.
South Dakota State, their defense was outstanding this day, holding down a Western Illinois team that averages over 80 points a game, holds them to 58. Tom, that was the 2nd lowest scoring output for the Leathernecks this year.
South Dakota State got out to a 22-8 lead in the 1st quarter of this one, and you talk about the big 3 for Western. Clemens and Bloomer and Higginbotham combined to go just 10 of 41 shooting in the game.
They really struggled from the perimeter, and credit South Dakota State. Their defensive pressure was excellent throughout this game.
Carrie Young with 18, Maddie Giebert with 18, and Ellie Thompson 16 in that win for South Dakota State. Omaha on the road at Denver, and the Mavericks get the win here. Omaha won 2 games this week. They win this one 82-73.
Great offensive week for Omaha. They were shooting nearly 50% in both games. The key in this Denver win, though, Tom, they did not miss from the free throw line. Perfect 19 of 19.
Michaela Shaw, 26 for Omaha in the win. Remy Davenport, 18 points and 9 rebounds for Omaha. Again, that's their 2nd win of the week. They get to 3-4 in league play. Denver led by Jacqueline Pass in this one with 21, but Denver just 1-6 right now in the Summit League. And then IUPUI again, their 2nd win of the week, their 3rd win in a row. They win at home again, 71-58 over North Dakota State.
You look at what IUPUI has done in their last 3 games, Tom. They are holding teams to 49 points a game. I mean, their defense has been suffocating, and that's letting them have some nice wins because their offense is playing adequate enough to win games. They played well in this one, shooting over 50%, but it's really been the defensive end that's helping IUPUI get in the win column.
They had North Dakota State down big early in this game. The Bison got it back to 2 at halftime, but IUPUI pulls it out in the 2nd half. Taylor Thunstedt with 15 for North Dakota State, but Danielle Lawrence 27 again in this game to go with her 29 in the game before that. Coulda, shoulda would have been the Player of the Week. Maddie Giebert gets those honors, but a great week for Danielle Lawrence.
And great week for the Jags.
All right, USD did not play South Dakota with a couple of games coming up. Thursday, they will host North Dakota State, and at home on Saturday against Western Illinois, the Coyotes trying to keep pace with South Dakota State. All right, thanks, Stewart. Up next, a former Big Ten player with a famous basketball name and some good stories to tell as she settles in her first year as an assistant coach at North Dakota State. Welcome back. Morgan Page is in her first year as an assistant basketball coach at North Dakota State. She was a player at Wisconsin. Her brother was a star at North Carolina, and she's got some good stories to tell. Here is Page with Brian Shawn in Fargo.
All right, time to go one-on-one with Morgan Page, one of the new assistants here on the women's basketball staff in her first year. Morgan, what's it been like to come over here as an assistant coach at North Dakota State? You played obviously in college at Wisconsin. You're not that far removed from the game as well, so maybe pretty easy to relate to what a lot of these young players are going through.
Oh, the first time I met the team, I remember them being like, how old are you? Like, not much older than you, to be honest. But no, it's been great. It's been a great 6 months so far. We're in the mid-swing, just starting conference play, and the girls have been great. The program, the athletic department, everything's just been welcoming, and it's been nice now living in Fargo, calling that home.
As an assistant coach coming over from Wisconsin, what did you take away from that experience playing in the Big Ten? You know how physical the game can be as a guard. You went through a lot of that play in the 4 years you played at Wisconsin. What do you try to bring to the staff, and what is your expertise?
Obviously my height. I'm one of the smallest on the staff, so I work with the lead guards and the scorers like Taylor. But just being able to give them that edge and that energy, and knowing that each game is a new opportunity, and you just got to bring it every day. If you can be consistent and bring that effort every day, good things will happen.
Now, you come from a pretty good basketball family. You had a brother that played at a pretty high level at North Carolina, right?
Yes.
What's it like between you two, the sibling rivalry? What's it like to have a sibling where you two both played at really high levels?
And we talked about that, just got back from Christmas, and he was home at the same time that I was, and we got a little bit of overlap, got to work out in the gym together. I still have to rebound because my parents can't pass. But it's just been really nice knowing from birth all the way up you've had a workout partner built in, somebody who can talk to and relate to about high-level basketball, and also share that as a love, a passion, a career. It's been great. We talk almost every day, and he got his Bison gear in for Christmas, so he's really excited about that.
So is he wearing his Bison gear down in Salt Lake because he's playing in the D League right now?
Yes, and it's women's basketball too, so he's good to go. He's like, yeah, my Nike shipment came in. I'm excited. So he's rubbing the Bison in Salt Lake.
Now, I know you're coaching up the guards. That's what you're spending a lot of time with. You know, Tyra Spencer, Sarah Jacobson are both very young. They're trying to get stronger with the basketball. So if you're coaching me and I'm a young guard, what are the most important things that you're trying to teach me about being strong with the basketball and playing smart and doing all the right things and making the right decisions?
Oh, for sure. Well, first, when you actually do catch the ball, you want to be in a stance where you are protecting the ball with your body.
Okay.
And with my little nuggets, as I call them, Sarah and Tyra, where we're learning to get stronger, we will use weight basketballs and pound the basketball where it's in your pocket, so a defender cannot get the ball when it's here. And we focus on that 10 to 15 minutes every day before practice.
And that's a process, right? That is not something you learn overnight. That takes time to get to that point, right?
Yes, and even just ball strength and velocity of passes and getting from point A to point B with less dribbles, all of that comes with experience, time, and strength. And even from game one to now, you see the difference from Sarah being able to make 40-foot passes across the floor up to Kennedy for a shot, or for Tyra to get to the basket in only 2 dribbles. It's coming. It's going to be a process, but they work on it and they really want to get better, and you can only feed them. They want to get better. So
thank you for joining us.
No problem.
Glad you're here. Enjoy the rest of your first season in Fargo.
Thank you.
That's Morgan Page one-on-one.
Up next, a Colorado kid making an impact in the resurgence of the red and white at the University of South Dakota. Well, University of South Dakota men's basketball team is looking like a Summit League title contender this season, and thanks in part to a handful of transfer players. One of them is a Denver kid who started at Colorado State but has quickly become a big Coyote contributor this year. Here is Kelly Stewart in Vermilion.
Society makes a big deal about the box score, and that makes sense for the most part. Scoring, assists, rebounds, they're exciting to watch, but what wins games? The unstatables, the specialty of USD junior Carlton Hurst.
He's the rock of our team. In a lot of ways, he is the heart and soul of our team. He's the guy that doesn't get nearly enough credit. He plays with ultra energy, but he's an old school player. Right? He doesn't care what position he's labeled. He doesn't care if he's labeled a 2-guard or a 3-man or a 4-man. He's just a basketball player.
Prior to Hurst coming to USD, Smith and the Denver, Colorado native were not strangers to each other. Smith recruited Hurst at both Colorado State and Nebraska, and after things weren't working out at CSU, joining a familiar face at USD seemed like the best option.
Kind of didn't want to go through the whole recruiting process again and everything like that, but I just felt like it was best for me. You know, it was hard to leave home, but I feel like it was just overall a great decision.
Fast forward through the transfer rules redshirt year, and number 2 is making all sorts of number 1 plays, especially in his first chance to play back in front of his hometown last week at Denver.
He goes out there and he gets 2 50-50 balls in a scrum that were huge plays. He closes out on a guy and he's the second to leave the floor and he blocks the guy's shot. But he seems to be in the right place at the right time almost all the time on the floor. And so he's kind of one of those guys, he doesn't talk a lot, but he's like E.F. Hutton in the old days of commercial. He's like E.F. Hutton. When Carlton talks, people listen.
So he's a soft-spoken guy who simply puts his head down and goes to work. Hurst plays great defense, wins 50-50 balls, rebounds, makes his free throws, the list goes on, all without batting an eye. But when I asked him about being labeled as an unsung hero, he couldn't help but flash a little emotion.
I never really hear it that often, I guess, but I take pride in it. I like that I can help the team in many ways that, you know, a lot of people don't see or really acknowledge that much, but I guess I like to just go out there and, you know, just do the best I can and help the team.
This basketball player is as steady as they come, never too high, never too low, and the only time he ever hangs his head is when he's trying to avoid hitting it on the rim during a high-flying dunk.
When we come back, a tribute to a Summit League swimming and diving coach who is saying goodbye after more than 4 decades at South Dakota State.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn.
Welcome back. The Summit League Swimming and Diving Championships are coming up in mid-February, and they will be the last for a longtime coach at South Dakota State who has dedicated more than 40 years of his life to the Jackrabbit swim and dive programs.
He is synonymous with Jackrabbit swimming and diving. Heck, he started the women's program back in 1976. And yet Brad Erickson's beginnings here were an accident. He grew up in Arlington and was enrolled at SDSU, but as he tells it, the rest was fate.
My next door neighbor and the guy across the hall, my freshman year, were on the swim team here, and when I told them that I swam in like junior high and high school in summers, you know, that was the start of knowing that they had a team here and that I could be a part of it.
The first SDSU swimmer to compete at the NCAA Division II Championships, Erickson won 3 North Central Conference titles, the 100 breaststroke and twice the 200 breaststroke. He earned his degree and was a graduate assistant before being called back in 1976, just 2 years out of college, to become head coach at 24 years old. And one of his first tasks was to create the women's program.
Women's program actually started about 74, 75. There were some women that were interested in swimming and started with the men's program, and so we had co-ed meets where they were competing, in the same race, same heat with the men. That lasted about 2 years, and then we started up a women's program.
Erickson wore many hats over the years. He spent 15 seasons as an assistant football coach, working with the wide receivers. He also served as a teacher in the health, physical education, and recreation department, and would serve nearly 20 years as director of intramurals at SDSU.
I counted on the athletes themselves to help out with that. My day started, we do a 5:30 practice in the pool. We had 7:30 football meetings. That lasted until about 9, and then I taught about 4 hours a day. Would get the workout on the board ready for the swimmers, and then head out for football meetings, practice from 4 to 6, and then go home and grab a quick bite to eat and say hello to the wife, and then back at the building here and do film work from 7 to 10.
He says all of the additional duties took away from his ability to build the swimming program as much as he'd like. When SDSU made the move to Division I over 10 years ago, his other duties went by the wayside, and additional investments, such as a full-time assistant coach, Phil Hurley, helped Erickson lead the program to new heights.
That gave me the freedom to focus on the swimming and diving program. So just that end of it on the transition. And then a lot of athletes that look at furthering their swimming careers that wanted that Division I experience. And having this at the mid-major they can get that experience, and they're people that have really helped develop our program.
This being his 41st and final year as head coach of the men's and women's swimming and diving programs, I asked Erickson, why now?
Being 65 in another month, I think that I want to be able to enjoy retirement still in good health, and I guess leave on my terms when I still have that passion and that love for it. I think it's a good time in my career to step aside and let somebody else take over.
Last Sunday marked the final home duel for Erickson as head coach. He was honored by his team, Director of Athletics Justin Sell, President Barry Dunn, and Vice Mayor Keith Corbett, who was on hand to proclaim January 15th Brad Erickson Day in Brookings. And the coach is very appreciative of the outpouring of support he has received upon announcing his retirement.
It's very humbling, very humbling. I've always said that it's not about me, it's about the athletes, and it's about the school. And I was just glad to be a part of that for so long, to having been an undergraduate student athlete, the grad assistant experience, and then to be hired so young, at 24 years old with no collegiate experience, and to be able to stay that long, it's truly been a blessing to me.
And here now, take a look at this week's Summit League swimmers and divers of the week. Our thanks to all of our Summit League shooters. We'll see you next week.